What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. I'm your host, Love Coach Scott Katamas, and we've got a really wonderful show planned tonight. It's going to be kind of in three parts. The first part, our first hour, is going to be dedicated to celebrating World Unity Week. You know, last Saturday night we were previewing World Unity Week, and now we get to celebrate what's been a very successful and amazing week. And we'll actually take a look at some highlights from World Unity Week. And in a moment, I'll introduce Ben and Becky and Ingrid and Chandra. So some of the core people that really make World Unity Week happen are going to be with us, and they're going to share some of their moments. We then are going to have a video of Cornflower. He was going to be with us live. Something came up. So we are going to have a little dance jam to Cornflower to get us moving and grooving. We're then going to drop into some very important conversations. One of our beloved Global Peace Tribe members, Susan Woldridge, her grandson was in the library in Chino on Monday when there was a shooting and people died. And her grandson escaped through the back. But boy, you know, when you hear about school shootings, or in this case, a library shooting, and it just comes so much closer to home. Um, and Susan is a beautiful poet. We've featured her on the show before, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then that's going to segue into a conversation about the divine masculine with Omashar and myself. And Ben, if you're still with us, love to have you participate. Same with you, Becky, if you're still with us. And of course, our Diara, who had a vision about this. Then there'll be, of course, Omashar music. We're going to have three Omashar songs, one in a moment. Um, and then we're going to segue into the third and final part of our show. And our last hour is going to be with Eduardo Mace, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I'm going to change into my UApedia t-shirt, Eduardo, when it's your turn to come on. He was at the very powerful Disclosure Forum in Washington, D.C., on Thursday, in which a lot of the major whistleblowers and government people who are really asking the questions are coming up and providing answers, came together and shared really valuable information. And Eduardo was there, and he's going to share with us about the highlights. So we've got a very full show, and to get us rocking and rolling, I'm turning it over to my beloved house musical artist, Omashar.
Yes, indeed. And welcome, everybody. Namaste. And greetings to everybody who's watching on YouTube and Facebook, and our streaming partners, Humanities Team et al. And yes, so love you all. When flowers grow, dripping with dew, and rivers flow in sapphire blue, I suddenly know what a full God I knew. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when autumn sun kisses my cheek, whilst cool winds come from mountains' peaks, with poems on my tongue but no wish to speak, I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I always start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever, forever and ever and ever. Whoa. When tender hands trace memories where powdered sands meet temperate seas, I don't understand, but I love mysteries. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. And when evening stars shine all around, my grieving heart's no longer down. And things that were lost, that's where true hope's found. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever? Sweet water, when I give you my heart, I already start to feel better. My sweet water, won't you send me your love forever and ever and ever? I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear of the ocean. I'm a tear that's lost fear. Hey, Cammy. Of the ocean. Beautiful.
Let's all go to Gallery View and send love and appreciation to our beloved Omar Shahar, who is definitely one of the highlights of World Unity Week. Some of us got a chance to watch him today.
And
Beautiful
we just
song.
had beautiful Cami dancing as well in the room with Ben, so that was rather lovely.
Yeah, and I also really enjoyed watching Pam and Liv dancing together. That was quite
I
sweet.
know, that was awesome, dudes. Well done, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to bring Ben up in a moment, but I want to read some of the comments that have come in because we have people, of course, from all over the world, from Ecuador to California, Australia, but people also are commenting. And Carol Craig writes, I absolutely loved Omashar today. That's you. She also enjoyed She Phil in his discussion about peace. She attended several of them and was never disappointed. She loves this community all around evolutionary leaders. So thank you, Carol, for putting that in. Susan Sapith writes, I enjoyed the show last night with Summer, Joy, John, Kirsten, and Shine. So that's fun. And Shonda, of course, is with us, and she makes so many things happen. So, Shonda, thank you for being with us. And Carol Craig also pointing out all the dancers. So, It has been quite an extraordinary week, and so it's my pleasure to kind of bring on board the people who make it happen, and that includes our beloved brother Ben Bowler and our beloved soul sister Becky Suzik and Ingrid. And Shonda definitely deserves to come on, although she doesn't have her camera on. So I want to acknowledge Shonda as well. And for
I'll
Ben,
click
Becky,
on my video for a moment.
oh, well, there you go. That would be sweet. Where are you? Let me find you now. We'll see. Omashar usually finds people faster than I do. There
He's
you
there.
are.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So for all of you, I'd just love for each of you to kind of share what have been some of your highlights this week? What have been some of your inspirations and some of the moments that have touched your heart?
Well, thank you, Scott. So I'll jump straight in and just say it's been a wonderful, wonderful World Unity Week. Thank you. It's great to be back with the Awakening World. We started it together here a week ago with the Awakening World on Saturday night. And it's been a big week. There's been a lot that's unfolded. And then World Unity Week's always evolving and changing, and every year is different. This year's been really beautiful and special because of the degree of the co-creativity now that is really global. So with our friends in the Hague Center based in Europe and South Africa, hosting what we might call morning programs, and then John and Summer hosting the Compassion Games at around about 11 o'clock, and then the UE TV feature in the evening slot at 6. It's been a real kind of combination of different elements. There's been so many awesome programs, and I look forward to hearing the various feedback. We just had one today about Minneapolis that I want to make sure we share the invitation to everybody here in the community too, because there's something very special that's happening inside the 99 days. But how about you, Becky? What were some of your reflections of what's happened this week?
Well, it always is filled with so much wisdom and so much connection with people, and it's been incredible. I was honored to support a couple of events yesterday, including the Byakko Shingo Kai event that Fumi offered, honoring these incredible prayer givers from Japan who have been holding prayers since 2020 in Zoom for global peace. And so that was a really extraordinary program. And then prior to that, there was a program with Victoria and Ron, and somebody who was new to me, which, Scott, I'm not sure if she's ever been on your show. She's an evolutionary leader who you may know, and her name is I'll say her last name, Io Ayula Amale.
Ayo from Africa.
Yeah, from
Yes.
Nigeria. And Ron and Victoria, really, they had such a beautiful program. They invited her to speak and to share some of the really just tragic things that are happening in Nigeria with children that are being abducted. And she wasn't able to share as much as she wanted to because her technology shut down. So we weren't able to hear her whole story, but of course we were present, saying prayers and holding that space for her. And her not being able to complete it, it felt like there was something within that, the germ of that, the beautiful germ of that, germination, the seed of that needed to be a 99-day mission. And as we all know, we reflected last week on this launches the 99 Days of Peace through Unity that takes us through September and the International Day of Peace. And we invite everyone here to bring forth a mission and share that, and we'll do things to help amplify that within our network. But I reached out to Io and invited her to create a program and that would really feature the work that she's doing and some of the situations that we don't hear from in the old story media. So it was really beautiful to see Ron and Victoria use their opportunity to amplify someone. She's also an evolutionary leader and doing this global work that she does towards peace and unity for children particularly. So that was a very special moment.
We had Ron and Victoria on the Awakening World maybe a month ago, and they have this new book coming out where they take his poetry and her drawings and have put it together into a beautiful. And the other extraordinary thing about Ron and Victoria is they've been married for 62 years.
Yeah. Yeah, they told that story on the program yesterday. I actually put it up behind me, and we do have recordings up on the World Unity Week Facebook page. And Ben will put Unity television as well, so that you can catch any recordings. So anything that we talk about, hopefully Ingrid and Shonda will be able to share as well what their favorite moments were. So yeah.
Well, I just want to also just jump in there with Io. She was actually one of the featured speakers today on the Founding Mothers movement as well. So she had another opportunity to
Great.
share her work and what's taking place in the Founding Mothers movement. Is a beautiful platform as well that was on earlier today. There's been so many incredible things, and we have these woo angels like Shonda and Ingrid who do an unbelievable role, really anchoring the rooms and helping people host their programs. It's such a beautiful offering, and you know, it's free. It's always free, but it really is made possible through the love and devotion of people like Ingrid and Shonda. What's been some of your highlights, Ingrid? What have you kind of appreciated this week the most?
Well, I think that the feeling of the participation in something greater than ourselves is the overall feel, no matter where someone was from or what they were participating in. It was all pointing towards something that we can all feel urging us forward together. And I'm gonna actually go back to before the week began, starting literally from the Awakening World last week, and then launching into the Solstice Unites celebration, where a 24-hour relay around the globe of Indigenous people and prayers and offerings of poetry and things, just to bless the beginning and start us off. That experience to catapult all the different offerings from the different days that brought us. It's interesting because it both brought us through the past themes from World Unity Weeks of yesterday into future things of things that we see emerging and that are really anchored in these missions that people are bringing forward and where they feel the call and that movement that is bringing us through together. And this year I had the amazing privilege of working side by side with Shonda, who has such an amazing wealth of experience in production and weaving. I mean, her ability to weave together things is simply beyond extraordinary, to observe and to participate in and to learn from. And events that range from the very grounded things of economics and how to build living cities and how to get involved in grassroots things that are a part of everyday awakenings, wherever your place is in the world, to expanded consciousness and metaphysics and awareness, the amazing inner resonance that we can tune into. There's the amount of presentations and information is amazing. Check out Unity Earth TV, the World Unity Week Facebook page, all kinds of recordings. Please do drink deeply of the well of life that has been brought forth through all of these offerings. So good.
And Shonda, I've brought you up too, since the two are kind of soul sisters doing the work together. What would you like to share?
Well, I suppose thank you, Scott, for the invitation today. And for those within the family that do not know me, I do not run camera. I am on sabbatical, recovering from an accident. And our mission, we filed 4 missions during the 99 Days of Peace in 2025. And one of them was Earth Mother Media. And that was to form an independent media company to be in service to others within the One World movement that were, just to give them platform and help with tech. And this has been amazing because our mission moved into Unity Earth this year, and it's been an absolute blessing to be part of World Unity Week. And my favorite part, I'm going to jump back to New Earth Rising. We entered this family back in 2023. Opened a convergence room, was part of World Unity Week. That convergence room was the gathering, and the gathering never closed. It is still opening, doing programming 5 days a week. And it's been a beautiful journey, and I'm so privileged and honored to be part of it. And yes, Ingrid is part of Earth Mother Media Mission, along with quite a few others. So that's my part, and thank everybody for allowing us to be part of this blessing.
Mm, thank you. I'm going to read a couple comments from our people. Susan Bloomquist writes, to all of you, your devotion and service to the uplifting of people's awareness is a beautiful gift to all of us. And Reverend Jeffrey Colbreck writes, it makes me feel not alone, that we are a community force for good. And he reminds us that Lovolution is the solution, and put in the chat box a Lovolution science video. And Ben pointed out that, as Becky had mentioned, you can go back and watch all of the wonderful programs that took place. So the link is in the chat box for our Zoom room audience. But for those of you who are watching on Facebook or YouTube, take a screenshot right now, and you'll see the URL that you can go to where you can catch everything that took place. Unity.earth/world-unity-week-2026-UETV. And that's, of course, the television channel that World Unity Week works with. And you can go back and watch all the different programs, all the beautiful, beautiful programs that took place. So it's wonderful watching how this has grown each year. And of course, World Unity Week really got going at the same time as the Global Peace Tribe. So we've been brothers and colleagues and sisters locked in arms, going all the way back.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, Scott, and it's evolving and growing all the time. And one of the things that's really, I was just thinking and reflecting on then is just how powerful and beautiful the themes have been each and every year. And as Ingrid mentioned, this year we adopted the past annual themes to be the themes of each of the days. So Shonda was just talking about New Earth Rising. Today is Truth, Beauty, Goodness, Still. And each of those themes have just held such current and such power that runs through World Unity Week. So it's really, it's a gift of a field that is made by many hands and many hearts and many speakers. The other thing that's really been present and jumped out, we'll show this highlights package, which captures the snippets of it, but is, we've had David Sloan Wilson, who was on the Compassion Games broadcast with John and Summer, an evolutionary biologist, talking about how, selection is prioritizing empathy and compassion and cooperation. We've had Hunter Levins, a famous economist, on the Commons Economics, which was a brilliant program. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, check it out. Cara Stonehouse did an incredible job bringing that platform together. Young, apart from Hunter Levins, who's a bit of a legend, but there was a lot of young, up-and-coming, activists, thinkers, practitioners, really, really awesome, super inspiring. Commons Economics was about 3 days ago. And then, Jude Caravan, of course, the cosmology of it. So you've got, and then all the different spiritual aspects to it. So it's really, everybody's telling the same story, which is a story of interconnectedness, which is a story of wholeness, which is a story of evolutionary hope and abundance. And it's just being told in different ways by different disciplines, which is really, really striking. We're at a pivotal moment in history. And I think things like World Unity Week help us to kind of bring forth the future, because we're living in a space where all these different things are connected and magic happens in that convergence. So super excited. Shall I maybe, Scott, take us on a little bit of a journey through the highlights?
Absolutely. I just want to read one comment that just came in, and then let's take a look at some of your clips. Eleanor Joy wrote, 20 minutes into this program today, and I'm already having shivers. My heart is jumping for joy. Such high vibes going on here. So much gratitude. And so thank you for that, Eleanor Joy. And yes, take us away, Ben, into what you got.
Okay. Let's do this. I want to thank Tom Fellner who put this together. There we go.
We are never going to be content in a bubble of safety and abundance if the world is burning around us. Just as the environmental movement taught us that we cannot simply use our waterways as garbage dumps without dire consequences. And the changing climate is teaching us that your fire is my smoke, and that one hurricane or volcanic eruption completely paralyzes air traffic across a whole continent, and that our young people deserve a vision of hope and abundance.
That also this wholehearted hope. I think in this world where everything seems to be shattering apart, the shadow of human consciousness is certainly up for healing. It's wholehearted hope. And that's the wholehearted hope is not a false optimism. It's a knowingness in our heart and souls that as we heal, as we become more of who we truly are, right? That's what shapes the world we share, is that. And that we all have that power within us. Does it take courage? Absolutely.
We, in my humble opinion, my experience, we are born from love and we die back into love. And our work in between that being born and dying is to walk hand in hand as sisters and brothers and gendered siblings of all different faiths, different cultures, different religions, different classes, different sexual orientations, age, and the list goes on and on. Our message in inner spirituality is really for me, is to create safe spaces, to say you are not alone. We are not alone, because ultimately there is no other. And our work, my work, is learning about each of you, learning about myself, learning about each of you, so that I can come closer to the ultimate reality.
As this conversation went on, and I was just being crushed intellectually, I'll be honest, I came up and said, what percentage are you sure you're correct? And this brilliant and honest person said, well, about 70%. I said, oh, good. Now we're talking. We've got wiggle room. We can bridge this divide. And then that person asked me, so what about you? What percentage are you sure? And I said, oh, I'm 100% sure. And they were so offended, like, what do you set me up? And I said, no, I am 100% sure that I don't have it right. There's no way I could do it alone, that together we can find the way forward. And I'll end right there.
Can you imagine if we really truly accept that healing our own traumas is our service work, that there's nothing else to focus on, the rest becomes synergy, the synergy of connecting with other like-hearted, like-valued people. And as we have our own internal integration along that healing path, we become aligned with others who have similar values and visions. And that's what my message really is to those who are listening today, is that you all have a unique purpose and an integral purpose. And that the path to wholeness as a world begins with the path to wholeness inside of ourselves.
I know people ask me, how do you sit next to people that had you on the death list or bombed your building? And I said to them, I've got a plan that I'm going to invite the guy who was one of the chief assassins in the apartheid state, called Eugene de Kock. And I'm going to invite him because he bombed my headquarters. It's 12 stories high. And he killed innumerable. But I'm going to invite him because he paid for it. He went to jail, he committed, and he turned out and he's changed. And he wanted to meet me. And I want to meet him. And I want to invite all young people like you. And let's have a conversation. What is reconciliation?
Einstein said we will never be able to solve the problems that confront us from the same level of consciousness that created those problems. And I think it has become more and more clear that the chaos and dysfunction that we're experiencing collectively in the world are the inevitable outcome of the consciousness of separation. The paradigm that says that we can live separate and cut off from the larger fabric and web of creation. And the antidote to the consciousness of separation and all that arises from it, divisiveness, competition, conflict, the consciousness of scarcity, and a view of life as a zero-sum game. The antidote to all of that is awakening to the fundamental unity of being and the interconnectedness of all of life.
All the different things, it was like there was so much wisdom. And then the whole service aspect, because it's like the more you give is the more you receive. The more that I started to put out was the more that I started getting back of life. I learned so much from the women. I learned so much from the guys. I just learned so much by just landing on the motherland. It's like people have no idea how much you can learn about anything being on the continent, the original continent of Africa. It's like it's got the answers to everything, you know, to sustainability, to love, to freedom, to family. It's like all the things that you find missing in life and stuff. And it's like, what are we crying and complaining about here in America or anybody else in the world? It's like, literally, what are we crying and complaining about? You go to Africa, it's like they find joy in everything. They find joy in each other. They find joy in the simplest of things. And that brings you groundedness. And I think anybody, and it's like people go there just to heal. Every time that I go to Africa, I feel healed more and more and more, you know.
We can solve the climate crisis, transition away from the use of fossil energy, which is what's driving the crisis, to renewable energy, now everywhere on Earth cheaper than fossil energy. There is no longer an economic justification for burning oil, gas, coal, fossil gas, etc. China is building a gigawatt a day of renewable power. A gigawatt is roughly a nuclear power-sized chunk of electricity. A gigawatt a day of renewables, because they can now sell these renewables to the rest of the world, because they're cheaper than the way the rest of the world gets its energy. Second big picture solution, regenerative agriculture. We know how to pull carbon out of the air, put it into the soil durably.
So it's all about coming from these systems of separation, which seek to put people against each other, businesses against each other, where it's my property, and if I guard it stronger, then I have a better competitive edge against you, and I can feed my family better than you can feed your family. It's quite tragic, because it doesn't have to be that way. There's actually some very solid economic cases about how collaborative acts and coming into mutualized resource pools and well-managed commons actually create even more abundance for all of the people involved than if they had just taken away the part that they thought they needed to survive. Open Earth being a global ecosystem where collaboration, transparency, inclusivity, shared ideas, building innovation together leads to greater, more prosperous outcomes for the many and not just for the few. And through this have been focalizing our energy onto creation of the Gaia Commons, which specifically addresses the open systems needed for global stewardship of commons assets applied locally first, always, right? But interconnected between.
Right now, one of my heroes is Muhammad Ali, and he is and is known as a champion of compassion. the way he lived his life in the Ali Center. But here's what he said. I don't know if you've heard this quote. He said, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it.
Wow.
Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing.
Wow.
And yet that worldview, based on an old science, an outdated science of separation and materiality, is now literally being turned on its head and crucially being turned inside out. And instead of a universe that it describes without meaning and purpose, the evidence, this is vital for us, the evidence at all scales of existence and across numerous fields of research are showing instead a universe of innate meaning, an inherent purpose, a universe that began not in chaos, but exquisitely fine-tuned, ordered and relational, crucially relational and whole in its entirety. And within it, nothing is separate. Everything is differentiated. Its unity is expressed in radical diversity. That is what the evidence is showing us. But a diversity that is essentially interdependent. Interdependent at every scale, from the tiniest to the whole of all of space, all of time, all energy, all matter.
Just take a breath there. But isn't it remarkable, Scott, the consistency of the story, the new story, which is this ancient, eternal story of unity and interconnectedness and wholeness.
Absolutely. There's so many. First of all, thank you to your editor. He did a beautiful job. Every one of these comments and quotes is touching my heart. And that's why I'm glad we're pausing for a moment. I want to read a few of the comments that have come in from our people in the Zoom room. Eleanor Joy writes, love this. Kent Shu points out, impossible can be I'm possible. Ayada writes, I'm feeling so deeply grateful to be here tonight and for this community. I wish I'd been able to participate more in World Unity Week, but I did love everything I was able to watch. How incredibly blessed we are to have these beautiful groups and events. Thank you to everybody. Susan Bloomquist writes, this is a very hopeful presentation with solutions presented, confident persons sharing important wisdom. Kendara Laurel writes, this has been my first encounter with World of Unity and all these groups. It won't be my last. Words cannot begin to express the optimism and joy this week has gifted me with. So thank you, Ben, and everyone else. Reverend Jeffrey writes, 0 point energy is here, but how can we get it out without being stopped? And that's, of course, some of what people have been talking about. Dorina Joy, coming to us from Ecuador, writes, thank you, Ben, Becky, Scott, John, Omashar, and everyone for such a great co-creative week. So much inspiration, authenticity, and unity, arising actions of love, care, and transformation on all levels globally. Thank you for these awesome highlights right now as well. Dia Therese, a long message, lots of appreciation for our family. That's what we call us. We're family and friends. We're family. Shoshana writes, I love this, Ben. A gift of a field made of many hearts and many hands. This field unified by a powerful intention, becoming quantum portals of possibilities.
Yo. Yes, well said.
Our people, they're good writers.
Yeah.
Carol Craig writes, my mind just ran into Barbara Marx Hubbard. She posited that humanity was on the threshold of a quantum leap if newly emergent scientific, social, and spiritual capacities were integrated to address global crises. Wouldn't she be pleased with the success of Unity Week? So thank you, everybody. Finally, Don Drake writes, Actually, two more. Don Drake writes, "This is one of the best and most focused shows ever." And Lorna Sass writes, "Unity and radical diversity. Wowza, this gives me hope."
Yes, yes. Thank you for those comments. They're wonderful. It's really, it does feed us to get that beautiful positivity and inspiration. It's glorious. Jean Houston gave us a keynote address for one of the World Unity Weeks. She opened it up, or I think she was actually in the closing ceremony, which is tomorrow. I want to get a plug out there about that. But she obviously passed away several months ago. So she's very much present with us, and Barbara Marx Hubbard and Teilhard de Chardin and many, 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 many others that have been working towards this vision of wholeness, unity. So we honor all of them. And it's about 4 minutes to go, Scott, with this one.
Yeah, you just mentioned Jean Houston, so I'm going to do a quick plug. Tomorrow morning, we are going to be doing a very special Sacred Sunday show with Rama and Alexander, who travel all over the world. Their goal is to visit every country. And we're going to be celebrating the Heroes for Humanity. And you'll see in the poster in the upper left-hand corner a photo of Rama and Alexander, who will be with us tomorrow with Jean Houston. And we're going to be honoring Jean Houston. We're also going to be honoring Jerry Schwartz. And all the other people you see are people from all over the world. They're going to be part of tomorrow's show. It's at 9 o'clock Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern. I'll be co-hosting with Julie Kroll, and music by Omashar and Tatiana Speed. So that's going to be a very, very special event tomorrow morning. So just want to let people know about that.
Can I just say something about Jean too? Jean actually transitioned at the moment Robert and I were getting married.
No.
She did. Yeah. I didn't know she had passed until Ben announced it on the Unity Earth call. And I reached out to some people that are close with her to find out. I found out the day was the 16th of May. And then I said, what time was it? And it was about 4:20 Eastern, which was the time that Robert and I were getting married.
Wow.
And so I have a very close, we all have close connection with Jean. I feel so, I'm so grateful that we've presenced her, because she was such a significant influence to me personally. And I know she has been for so many people, but during World Unity Week, really very special conversations that she and I shared and that she gave, especially with that incredible keynote. That maybe we can find a link that we could share that with everybody too, Ben, since we're talking about Jean. So thank you so much for doing this program tomorrow. I hope I can watch and celebrate the life of Jean Houston.
Well, if you join us, I'd love to turn the camera back over to you to share with that audience what you just shared. What a beautiful cycle of life that is this great grande madame has her big transition. You have your big transition into marriage.
The theme of our wedding was butterflies and butterfly transformation. And she was always talking about butterflies. I get goosebumps. We had a butterfly on the doors behind us. You may remember, Scott, on the doors. And so just to presence, Jean is always here, like just a breath away now for each of us who took inspiration from her and take inspiration from her still.
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you, Becky. Thank you. All right, well, we've got a few minutes of highlights left. And Ben, you want to say something?
Well, just Rama and Alexander are amazing too, so you'll have a great show there tomorrow. Tomorrow is also our continuation circle. And it's really the one time of the week where we really want to get everybody together right across the time zone. So it's 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow over in room 1. And we invite everyone from the Awakening World, everybody here, to come and be a part of that continuation circle. It's going to be really special. It's going to be opening up with Auntie Patricia Ann Davis, and Kristen Hoffman is there. Our beloved Kristen Hoffman is there doing music. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be really good. And it's setting the scene for everything that's coming over the next few months. After the video, I do just want to say a few words about Minneapolis.
Of course.
So let's get into it. Let's get into the last few minutes. Thanks, Scott.
Ben, when I've seen the video.
I can see it now, Scott. reaching out loud into the colors. Just tell me you're dreaming. Full body feelings.
My existence about serving others and giving in love. And when I activate that joy that comes into my heart when I serve another is my payment, karma is then bound mathematically to return to me the service that I rendered on behalf of another, and I just got double paid. And so it brings us in the world where instead of take with ever present hunger, we are now in give. Holy crap, I just got another gift and I didn't even know that I wanted it. Now you're living in abundance, and every day changes. Your vibration comes up, your manifestations start to express, your faith builds. Now we got magic happening, and we do it one community at a time. We have to understand we cannot be takers on this planet any longer. We must return to the earth any resources that we extract during our lifetime. And right now we're taking 20 generations and we're allowing horrible leaders that we all know to be horrible set principles for our people. And those principles aren't working because the people running them, they don't work for them either, and they don't live in the truth. So we have to face what we've become as a civilization. We have to turn our focus on understanding the healing, the quantum healing part of this. You are a quantum astronaut, whether you believe it or not. If you have dirty thoughts, then you will have dirty manifestations and expressions, and we fix the problems of Earth right here. And right here in each of your screens. We are not going to be concerned with what others are doing. We are going to shine so bright that they can't not watch and they can't not want to follow. Love powers our vessel, and we come together and we choose peace. Let's finally teach our children to love each other, and let's let the end of this nonsense they call endless wars go away with it.
We will now observe a global silent minute dedicated to divine spark activation, and we will distribute our prayers and intentions for peace, for healing Mother Earth, for restoration of the natural environment, for the realization that love heals and that the essence of divinity has reawakened.
Next is the prayer for the healing of Mother Earth.
I love closing it with Kristen, our beloved Kristen.
Oh, wow, I hadn't seen the ending. Tom Fellner, take a bow. He's probably not in the room here, but my goodness, what a job of editing that together. That was immaculate, beautiful. So wonderful to witness it here with you, here in the Awakening World, to feel that medicine and the music and the ceremony and the beautiful Japanese family, Becky. And just really, the World Unity Week, is really an opportunity for us to continue this journey, the 7th year. Scott, I know you've got a lot of really wonderful things lined up for today's program. So I just wanted to mention Minneapolis is come. And as some of you know, we were together. In fact, Becky and Ingrid were both there at different parts of that event in August in Missouri, from Ferguson, where we went with Marty K. Casey. And it was Black Sunday in August, and we had the flags of one family and all the flags of the states of the United States, and we went from the police station down. We did a walk down to the Peace Pole. It was an incredible journey and experience. We did a ceremony at the Arch, and then of course we went to Unity Village for a 3-4 day retreat, which was all amazing. But even back then, we were thinking we want to take this medicine on the road. The ceremony, Marty's incredible gifts and music. And that kind of format. And we said, let's go to Minneapolis. So this is even before what happened in January. We had Minneapolis on on the map. And of course, it was George Floyd in 2020, May 2020, Scott, just as World Unity Week was getting ready and just as the Global Peace Tribe was emerging, George Floyd event happened. And then
That's right.
Minneapolis, everything that's been happening since. So there we did this incredible program just a couple of hours ago. Don Samuels is healing our city, healing our world. He's a local. He was on the city council 3 times, I think he served. He is an incredible change maker and activist in Minneapolis. He's done extraordinary work. And together he and Tezekiah Gabriel and Matthew Cobb and many others from Minneapolis are opening their hearts and opening their doors, and the community is housing the pilgrims. So this is anybody can come, that's homestays. And on Saturday, the 8th of August, we're going to have a peace pilgrimage starting at George Floyd Square, walking in silence to where Renee Good was killed, and then on to where Alex Preddy was killed, with the flags, with the symbols, with the emblems of peace. The hosts and the pilgrims will be coming together, and we're going to have this incredible day. The Indigenous Kitchen is creating a meal for us that day. We're going to be touring the work that Healing Our City, Healing Our World has done in North Minneapolis. Amazing stuff. There's something going on in Minneapolis, and we're called to attend, and everybody's invited. And then on the 9th of August, which is the actual anniversary of the killing of Michael Brown, which initiated Marty K. Casey to create Black Sunday and actually the whole Ungun platform. So on the 9th of August, it will be Black Sunday in Minneapolis, Black SON Day in Minneapolis, and it's going to be an incredible lineup of speakers, powerful, passionate messages coming out to the world, music, etc. So it's a 2-day gathering. It's not a commercial thing. Anybody can come. We ask for a small donation to cover some of the food and a T-shirt and a few things like that, but it's very, very affordable for everybody. And the local community, Scott, are giving the homestays, which is just so spectacular. So I'm going to share the form in the chat here, and anybody is welcome to join us. It's called Being Minneapolis, and it's an opportunity to come and be a part of it. And so,
well, that's also an extraordinary time of the year, Ben, because August 8th is 8/8, and that's the Lionsgate portal. And a lot of the people that have been on the Awakening World and that are into astrology and into cosmology always talk about how the Lionsgate portal is when we have a special connection to the Pleiades and to our galactic family. So that 8/8 is a very powerful day to be doing this. So, boy, Minneapolis is the place to be this Lionsgate, August 8th and August 9th.
Yes, and that's right. And we are part of a global peace activation on that day, which has come through a friend, Nick Gibson, who actually spoke at the World Unity Week May Assembly. And they've got events from Sydney to all around the world, to the UK, to Africa, and right through the US. So there's going to be a global, it's called a Global Peace Activation, and we'll be part of it during the Peace Pilgrimage Walk on that day, Scott. That's right. It's a very powerful time.
Yeah.
And there's an energy there that's calling us into Minneapolis, and yeah, we'd be lovely to see you there.
Yeah, well, we have Global Peace Tribers in Minneapolis, and my good friend Paul Sterling is there, so definitely we'll make something happen. And what a beautiful annual thing this has become. Always kicking off Unity Week with Awakening World, and then kind of wrapping it up with Awakening World. May we, hopefully, good Lord granting, continue to do this for many years to come.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Omashar. Thank you, everyone in the Awakening World. We love you guys. What is it? Framley?
Family.
Family.
May peace prevail on earth.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you, Shonda. Thank you so much.
So
See
for
you at
everybody
the
watching,
continuation.
well, yeah, we're going to continue on. We're going to take a little break with a cornflower video, and I pulled one from several years ago, back in the Saturday Night Alive days. And so we're going to have a little cornflower music, and then we're going to come back. We're going to have a beautiful conversation with Susan Wooldridge and Yara, and hopefully you guys, if you're still with us, all about kind of what's happening with some of the sad and hard things happening, but also the rise of the divine masculine. And then Eduardo Mace will be with us to give us an in-person report of what took place at this absolute groundbreaking UFO disclosure forum that happened in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. So, and more Omashar songs as well. So stick around. We've got a lot coming up. And here is our beloved friend, Cornflower.
In live from Northeast Tennessee. And the song I've got for you is With All Things. So here we go.
Yeah, I'll get my flashlight again. Oh, go ahead.
With all things I am one. 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 With all things And let your voice ring loud. When we're born into this world, we're born into a sacred spiral. The door is open wide. Open up and dive deep inside. With all things, come on, I am. Can you feel it? With all things, I am. With all things, I am. With all things,
What a nice flashback as we freeze. Look at some of our friends that are from back in the Saturday Night Live days. Of course, co-host Deborah Giusti, and in the upper right-hand corner, our beloved Jay Mayer, who's no longer with us in the human realm. Sean Jay, the magician that we love, and Keishi Chai, who's going to be on my show Wednesday night. And there, of course, is our beloved Kristen Hoffman with her partner Troy. So brings back some wonderful, wonderful memories. And Becky, you got your groove on. I gotta say, considering all you've been doing, you got some good moves there, girl.
I'm ready to go. We're getting warmed up. We need Omashar to keep us going.
Well, we've got two more Omashar songs coming up tonight, so that's good news.
It's so much fun.
Hey, everybody, this is the last show of our spring season. We have people subscribe quarter by quarter. And so this is it. This is the end of the spring season. I know many, many of you have already subscribed, but I want to just remind everybody to please join us for our summer season, which officially begins this Wednesday night, July 1st. We're kicking it off with a show dedicated to Piper Dellums and the work that she's doing with young people. So it's easy to join. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com. For any of you that are new to us, that are watching on Facebook or YouTube, when you click here, go to globalpeacetribe.com, you will then register for the new season. That takes you to our registration page. What does it mean? Well, when you register, you're going to get the Zoom Room links to all of our shows for the next 3 months. We do a show every Wednesday, every Saturday, always at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. And then about once a month, sometimes twice, we do a Sacred Sunday show. Just like tomorrow, we're doing a Sacred Sunday show. And we've got another one coming up in a couple of weeks. So all of our shows are filled with inspirational presenters, wonderful music, always our house musical artist, Omashar, and then people like Cornflower and Kristen Hoffman and others. So please do join us. Your subscription really makes a big difference and is very inexpensive. So please do join us. It means a lot. Thank you. All right. One of the things that we do on the Awakening World is we acknowledge what's going on in our world, including some of the challenges. And so for this next section, this is a kind of something we spontaneously decided to add. This is Susan Wooldridge, and she's one of our favorite Global Peace Tribers. She's always dancing to the music. She's the one always going around and around and around. I'm always worried about you. Her family had a big event this week, which led to us having a conversation, which led to what we want to talk about tonight. So I'm going to turn over to you, Susan, to share a little bit about what took place for your grandson and some of the inspiration that is actually brought to you.
Thank you, Scott. Gosh, I have something blocking my face. A picture of me. How do I make that go away? Go away.
No, we're good. You're good.
I hope I don't start weeping. And it's
And if you do, tears are welcome.
I
Okay.
have so much feeling about this because honestly, my life has been dedicated to working with children and adults and people, especially at-risk kids, have been my favorite. And so the tragedy is, it was an at-risk kid who came into the library on Monday, Chico Library. Thank God he did not have an automatic weapon. And thank God my grandson and his two 12-year-old friends were playing magic toward the back of the library. And they heard shooting, they heard screaming. My grandson called my daughter. She just yelled, "Run, run, run." And they saw someone going out the emergency exit and they ran. And so from what I've heard about trauma, if you can escape on your own and if you're with other people and can talk about it, you're less traumatized. I'm pretty traumatized just by hearing about it, but partly because in a strange way, I mean, I'm not going to say I feel responsible for this kid who was 18 years old. He had just graduated from Chico High School. He apparently was on the autism spectrum, and his father described him as a flower, and which is heartbreaking to me because I'm going to kind of focus on the theme of flowers right now. And here's my journal. I'm always taping flowers into my journal, and I always share that with kids.
I've worked with thousands of kids. I've worked in 88 libraries around California. I've worked in hundreds of schools. I have a book called Poem Crazy, Freeing Your Life with Words, that is about all this work, and another one called Fool's Gold. But what I want to start with is, who was it that said something about safe space? What I've learned is if I can create a safe space for these kids, magic happens that is incredibly healing. And so one of the kids in the juvenile hall, with my theme of flowers, I wrote, there's a poem by a man named Odysseus Elitis. I walked into a garden of night flowers. And in Greek, the word night flower is nichtoleludi. And just by chance, on the board in the juvenile hall that day, I wrote nichtoleludi. It's a long word. I'll show it to you here. Let's see if I can find my marked page. Nichtoleludi. It's probably backwards on the screen. But at any rate, I wrote it on the board, and this little kid, Trey, his name was Trey, which means very in French, T-R-E, sat there the whole first session weeping. He didn't say a word, he just sobbed. And I just let him, and I think he saw by the end of the session, he was safe. And the next session I came in and he said, would you write that word on the board, nichto, nichto? He needed that word because what I said is some of you might be kind of like a night flower. You only feel safe to come out at night. And he said, I said, maybe your feelings are so huge, you don't know what to do with them. Your feelings are so out of bounds that they get you into trouble. And Trey absolutely went crazy in the workshop. And what I decided to do, and Scott, this is what's so interesting, is that I took nonviolent communication and turned it into a way of creating poetry with it. So I feel, but it's hard to just say your feelings. I feel sad, I feel angry. That's such a limitation. You might want to say, I feel like in that photograph, I feel like the cloud that is halfway out of the frame. I'm only halfway there. Or I feel like a little girl wrote about, I feel like a flower petal on the sidewalk that's being stepped on again and again. So imagery and the language of poetry absolutely expands our ability to express our feelings. And so this kid, Trey, he just went crazy with poetry. And I first had them write with I come from, my heart says, my soul says, and then I feel like, bring me, and would you be willing? So Trey wrote, I come from the soul of fire. My heart says there are rings of chances. My soul is suddenly traveling in the lights of time. It seems like my soul is visiting a place that has never been before. And then the next day he wrote, I feel like late afternoon light. I'm a flight of thunder canyons. Bring me an Arctic snow goose on its flight home. Would you be willing to call another breathtaking spring day of rain and snow? We could sleepwalk on the clouds. And his teacher, Louisa, in the hall said he was a kid that had a knife. He would come up to people in Chico and the Bidwell Park and spring a knife on them and ask them for whatever they had. And what they didn't have was poetry. And so I like to think this might have changed him. I don't know. But another girl, and here's the word ticket that I ended up giving. I give word tickets to the kids because this is piles of sand. I asked her how she felt, how she was feeling. She said angry. And I said, usually there's something behind anger. Is it sadness? And she said, I asked her to find the feeling. She said, how do you measure sadness? And I wrote, can I write that down? And I gave her the word tickets, tented, windshield, piles of sand. And she wrote, I feel like never-ending anger. My sadness inside grows with each passing day. How do you measure the canyons of emotions hidden deep? The tinted windshield to my eyes is a barrier so no one can see inside. Piles of sand have filled my soul, and the juvenile hall is filled with yellow caution tape. She wrote, there is yellow caution tape surrounding my heart. And so my experience is that when kids get to write this way and express themselves, it changes them and they start to feel hope. And so my thought is this kid, this flower who killed 2 people, if he'd had a way to express himself, I know I'm an idealist. And there are people who talk about reptilians. I don't know, I'm an idealist, but my experience as kids are changed. And here's a kid in the hall who wrote, I'm a brown gangster colliding with death. I'm a rose slamming love with hate. And in that poem, he'd been given those words, collide, slamming. Those were words he wouldn't have had because we need more words than we're given. So I give out word tickets. Here they are. And we collect words. I create these word pools. Here's a word pool that we all created together I have them steal words from books of poems. But he wrote, yeah, I'm a brown gangster colliding with death. I'm a rose slamming love with hate. And that showed him that he's a rose. And he saw what he was doing. People approach him with love and he slams it with hate. So that little revelation, I don't know, it may have changed him. And so one other kid in the hall was a gang leader, Jay. He was an Asian gang leader. And he wrote, I feel like a miracle musical sofa. These are all from given words. I'm a million winter lifts because I need an escape from life's mistakes. Bring me award-winning ground, winning ground where stars appear. Would you be willing? Would you be willing to ask who I am? Would you be willing to be a king? Because I need small rivers to drink. So it's just so sad to me that we're taking the arts out of the classroom. I mean, I realize today, Scott, I kind of want to give a TED talk about this. I want teachers to know, to have these tools. I mean, here's another kid, and this was in a continuation school, and then I'll shut up. I could go on for like 3 weeks. He wrote, I'm a midnight, this continuation high school for kids who've been in the hall. I'm a midnight kind of whatchamacallit. I'm a tube-like beanpole, a holy shirt going smack. I'm a wily, howdy, ho-fling cowboy, an outsider looking in and an insider looking out. I'm a chalk-looking, feeling string, a strum-bumming, humming harmonica, a fancy free flyer. I'm a killin', getting illin', straight chillin' like a villain. I'm a rub-a-dub turning in the wind, flying nun look-alike. I'm a pre-Roman dust bowl taking tumbleweed. I mean, I like it kind of guy. Anyway, really, I for weeks, but thank you for this opportunity. And I just like to think that flower boy possibly could have expressed himself some other way.
Yeah. I'm going to read some of the comments that have come in, Susan, and then turn it over to Diara for a moment. Kendara writes, thank you for sharing this, Susan. Our beloved Bonnie Russell writes, wow. Eleanor Joy writes, you were certainly more than a lovely dancer, Susan. Tim writes, thank you. Eleanor Joy writes, this is very powerful and heart-opening. Shoshana writes, beautiful words can be musings to add colorful light onto the liminal canvas of the imagination. Bonnie writes, canyons of emotions that I'm feeling right now. Carol Craig writes, whatchamacallit, one of my husband's favorite words. He would use that word and it would take a while for me to know what we were discussing sometimes. And Grace Denise writes, Susan, what you are doing is incredible. Ayada writes, my heart, phew, reeling from all the love and all the pain in our aching, wonderful world. So, and I'm sure, more and more people were touched. So thank you, Susan, for taking this very painful experience and squeezing the lemons and making lemonade out of it. And Tiara, I turn it over to you.
Susan, thank you, Scott. Susan, that was absolutely beautiful. And having worked in the juvenile hall and the camps for many, many years, I know the heartbreak and the joy when you touch the souls and you see them open and you nurture them and feel the blossoming. You can feel the love in the room. It becomes palpable. And I also know the heartbreak of those that we can't reach, the ones that we miss. And just so beautiful, the words and the expression. And when I read about what had happened, and so grateful for your boys. And of course, we'll say prayers for everyone involved.
And beaming in live from Northeast.
There's cornflower. And just as you mentioned the young flower who had no other way to express or to want to achieve power, I had an experience when Columbine happened. I met Daryl Scott, the father of Rachel Scott, who was the first student shot at Columbine. And it was extraordinary how he held his presence and went into forgiveness. And I had an experience when I was in session with someone, and the souls of the two boys came to me to ask for forgiveness and said, "What about us?" And so just touching your tender heart and blessing you and all those that do this holy work with the kids that are hurting so much. And just thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your presence.
Give up. And I do just want to say he did belong to something called the Columbine fandom. Do you believe that that's out there? So our job is to be the opposite.
Absolutely. And when I saw that, I thought of the young man, and I know we're going to talk in a minute about this vision that I had about the divine masculine, and I think it's all connected. That our young men, our men are craving a way to express power and virility, and may we know how to serve.
It's human nature that we all want to belong to a tribe. We're blessed. We're all part of the Unity Earth Tribe and the Global Peace Tribe, which is about peace and community and inspiration and hope. And sometimes people just in desperation to belong to a tribe where the habits or the focus is not so healthy. Or even, the tribe of honoring the Columbine two students, like what they did was something heroic. So it's pick your tribe. Last thing I'll say for now is, for 11 years, I ran a camp at Jane Fonda's ranch in Santa Barbara, much earlier in my life. And we brought out a lot of young people up from Compton and Watts, which are the inner city areas. And it was amazing to watch these kids were gang kids. I mean, they had terrible things done to them, and some of them had done terrible things. But they would come up to this camp, and once they dropped into our hippie rainbow love vibe, they would just like be so relieved that, oh my God, there's another kind of a tribe to be a part of. There's another, a way to be other than that scene that I've kind of had to be in down on the streets. So it's
That's
yeah.
so true, Scott. I was working in juvie, and I had a classroom full of boys, and I was teaching "Love is Letting Go of Fear" as my text. And we would read from that, and the guys softened so much that I got a donation of stuffed animals. And all these hardcore gang members had these stuffed animals on their desk. And it was like such a place of safety for love that they could let that guard down and have that be. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Mm. Well, you had a vision, dear. Do you want to share that?
Sure. And it's interesting you mentioned Jane Fonda. I had this vision just 2 days ago. I'm going to go to Gallery View. And it surprised me. I saw this just divine goddess, like kneeling at the feet of her beloved. And it was so tender and so I want to say docile, and it surprised me because I'm someone that was lucky enough to be raised on the shoulders of these amazing women. I was looking at Eleanor Joy put in the chat earlier that, she had wanted her mom to know interdependence, but her mother was fiercely independent. And we had Jane Fonda and Gloria Steinem as role models, and coming from a place of moving into power of the divine feminine and power in the workplace. And so this vision of what could have been considered not servitude, but indifference to the divine masculine, and yet it was so sweet and tender. And I had to log that. And in the tarot, there's that one card of the image of the divine masculine kneeling at the feet of his beloved. And so it got me thinking about this spiral of matriarchy and patriarchy. And, throughout history, we've had different societies where, one is in power and the other one is not. And this, of course, goes across all realms. But I think that we're reaching another level of the spiral, all the work that we've done here and elsewhere about embracing the divine feminine and Mary Magdalene, and just really honoring that. And now it's time that some of our cups are full, that we can then turn to nurture the divine masculine. I remember when restorative practices was first coming in, and people of minorities were being gifted voice and more power. And as it happens sometimes when one faction rises, another one sometimes loses place. And I saw the look on this one white gentleman's face in this circle when some women were really expressing their feelings, and it was directed in a not so nice way toward the prototype, the stereotype of the not so divine masculine. And this man was so hurt. And I could tell that he had devoted his whole life to, an advocate for equality and an advocate for women. And so I thought to myself, why is it when we raise one, we must always keep lifting the others? And so I saw this spiral, and I'm looking forward to when we can talk more about the divine masculine. And that's, of course, as we know in our tribe, in all of us, we have divine feminine and divine masculine. And I wanted to give a shout out to the Love Coach Relationship Mastery course, if I might. Scott and Katrina are doing this amazing course. As brilliant as Scott is here, what I'm experiencing with him in this course is absolutely phenomenal. And Katrina as his partner, and I'm going to bring you on with me because I'm feeling a little shy. Since
Okay.
I have the power to do that, I'm gonna. This course is opening access to the divine masculine, the divine feminine, and giving us tools to translate it into all of our relationships. And I highly recommend anyone who's interested in exploring that aspect of themselves and bringing these tools to open their hearts. When Scott announces the next round, go ahead and register. And as soon as you register, magic will happen. And I know that this vision is part of what you and Katrina are bringing into the world as divine love, divine coaching for love. And I honor our beloved men in this tribe. I honor our beloved women. I honor the love that we are co-creating. And I'll save the rest for prayer time. Thank you so much for allowing me to share.
Oh, well, thank you. I did not know you were going to do a plug for our relationship mastery course, so thank you. And if anybody is interested, we teach it every Saturday. Today we taught a great class this morning. We're going to take a little 2-week break, and then we're going to come back with 8 more weeks starting on July 18th. And so people can still register either class by class, or you can actually get the recordings of the previous classes. And it truly is relationship mastery. Between Katrina and myself, we have coached over 1,000 couples and families. I've been doing this for 25 years. We started the Love Coach Academy together when my wife passed away. So we have a lot of history. And yeah, this is actually kind of what both of us do best in the world. Hosting this show is my hobby. Coaching is my profession. So anyway, thank you for that, Diara. And we are now going to go to our beloved Omashar for our second of 3 Omashar offerings. And then we've got a really powerful final hour planned. Here's Omashar.
Yes, here is Omashar, and I thought we were going to go in a different direction, so I wasn't quite ready, but I don't care because that's how I roll.
Did I mess up the agenda? I thought
no,
that...
you didn't mess it up at all. We were just rolling with it, and the funny thing is, I've been a defender, let's say, of the divine feminine my whole life, not really knowing what I was doing. And however, as I evolve, I'm seeing where my conditioning is still with women and not the divine feminine with myself, because I realize in spirit land there is no gender, and so ultimately we are both male and female within our souls and spirits. But what is happening with me now is that I'm consciously inviting the divine feminine to open my heart, because I realize that there's a little M&M, the candy shell around my heart, which has just protected me, and I've been able to host my love vibe. However, it's time for a complete expansion. And I've even got a photo on my wall of buffalo calf woman. And so anytime I think a thought that is in any way derogative towards the feminine, my mind just goes straight to my buffalo calf woman, and she keeps me in check, because the things that we were discussing, for instance, on the relationship thingamajig with this morning, was all of these veils and all of these background programs which run. And so you'll come into a situation with the opposite sex or whatever, and even if you have the greatest intent within your heart, this program can start running. And if you don't kind of put a cap on it and reprogram yourself, it'll still run. And so there's a plug for Buffalo Calf Woman. She rocks, and I'm humble in her sight. And so with that, I think I've done a good cue, and give me a moment to do this.
Are we ready?
We are ready.
We've been taking it for granted that our lives will stay the same, our comfort will remain. Yet we know now the world is really changing, so we take each other's hands and reveal the promised land. Courage flowing through our veins, showing us the way to surrender into the sacred fire. What no longer serves us all, so no more do we recall. And we all stand up, and we all stand tall, and the world will change as we heed the call. Remember, life is in your own hands, but the time to sit alone on your comfortable throne, it's over. Together we can make it. Bring back that Eden of the past, let it shine through our hearts, and we all stand up, and we all stand tall, and the world will change as we heed the call. And we all stand up, and we all stand tall, and the world will change as we heed the call. Yes, we all stand up. Yes, we all stand tall. Yes, the world will change as we heed the call. Here we go.
And we do all stand tall together. Thank you, beloved brother Omashar. Thank you for that. And our beautiful dancers. We had so many people dancing. I couldn't catch all on the screen. It was amazing, and happy to see some new friends dancing. So thank you very, very much. And it all began with Eleanor Joy and Reverend Jeffrey. And Pam and Liv, I love watching you two dance together. That's really, really fun. So it's beautiful how we keep evolving. Thank you, brother. All right. Well, we're now going to shift into kind of the last major segment of tonight's show. And of course, we've been covering really for years what's happening with Making Contact. Of course, Alan Steinfeld is a regular co-host, and he wrote the book Making Contact. I just had dinner last night with JJ and Desiree Hertok here in Sedona. And actually was sharing with them, we were comparing our notes and our perceptions of this very extraordinary event that happened on Thursday in Washington, D.C. It took place in one of the most hallowed halls, if you will, of D.C., with a lot of history of amazing things that have taken place in that particular room. And many of the leading whistleblowers and leaders in the disclosure movement all came together to share very important information. I'm not going to say too much more because our next guest, who we're going to be conversing with for the next probably 45 minutes, was there. And he is one of the founders of UApedia. I need to go put on my UApedia t-shirt that I proudly wear. And by the way, uapedia.ai, we'll show it in a moment, is the place to go to get extraordinary information about what's really going on. Eduardo Mace, I so appreciate what this man writes and reviews, provides. I've been in the field for 40 years, and so I'm pretty skeptical. And Eduardo really has a great eye and ear for presenting things and giving us little clue as to the what would be the right word? The validity of this particular program. So I want to share with you a little bit about who Eduardo is. Again, he's the co-founder and editor of uapedia.ai. He's also an experiencer, a serial entrepreneur, a software pioneer, and a media publisher. He has over 30 plus years building digital platforms that merge editorial rigor, AI, and storytelling for market consumption. And I'm so glad that you're putting your attention into really the most important conversation of our time here in humanity, really recognizing we are not alone, we have not been alone, and disclosure is happening. So welcome to the Awakening World, Eduardo.
Thank you very much, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm so infused by everybody singing and dancing. This was so lovely. Thank you so much for that. It's very uplifting.
You know, it's important with all the deep conversation to then move and lighten it up. And I think it's one of the things that makes our show a little bit unique. Please tell us about what you experienced on Thursday.
So the event unfolded in a Senate office building, very well known, the Russell office building, very close to the Capitol building. And in the Kennedy Caucus room, which is a historic room where, you know, they did the Watergate hearings and a number of very important events happen in that room. And under the auspices of the Senate, the Disclosure Foundation organized this event with Congress representative, senators, and the leading voices for disclosure, both in the private sector, but also whistleblowers. So we had a multitude of very famous people in this area, starting with Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, going into, you know, the whistleblowers. So Matthew Brown, Dylan Borland, Jeffrey Nuccitelli. These were all people who have come up and, you know, put their lives at stake, literally, denouncing the hidden technologies and the hidden beings and the truth, right, that has been kept from the American public and the world around the unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UFO of old, but now it's no. So the forum was all about how do we process humanity and legislation and government at the edge of discovery, right? We're about to know truths that will transform society. So Chris Mellon pointed out that you know, ignorance or the lack of truth, right, is not a national security strategy. It can't be, right? You can't build a government and an electorate and a democratic system without transparency and truth. So that was very decisive of him. And he started telling exactly what's going on, you know, with these Air Force Base incursions by UFOs. So one of the main revelations there was that it's the El Paso. There's a big Air Force base close to El Paso in Texas. And during 17 days, they had thousands of UFOs and UAPs basically hovering over the Air Force Base, and they couldn't do anything about it. And it's being kept hidden because obviously they don't want to lose face. But beyond that, it's, you know, there is no action without transparency, right? You can't ask Congress to vote on, you know, the National Defense Act if they don't know what's happening. They need to know what's happening. So this is a moment where, you know, Senator Rounds put it very clearly. You know, we have to look at disclosure as an architecture. So what does that mean in terms of laws? What does that mean in terms of accountability? Where is national security in all this? But most of all, how to make this public without, with all these frameworks in place, right? So we had Ana Paulina Luna, a big advocate for transparency and disclosure. We had Eric Burleson. We had Andre Carlson. Tim Burchett was honored. You know, and they all spoke out as to what they're doing, where they're finding information. There's a lot more to come out from the American government on this. There's talk everywhere of very important disclosures coming, both in terms of biologics, but also in terms of how the US is handling the reverse engineering of the crafts they've been in possession of for the last 80 years. So that's all part of the talk. So it's not about is UAP real or not anymore. It's about what is the process around, you know, behind all this. Louis Elizondo got an award there for his early actions in 2017 around the UAP disclosure, you know, initiative, and now a movement, right? We had a panel led by Gadi Schwartz from NBC. This is a, you know, NBC wouldn't let Gadi Schwartz run with the subject a year ago. Now he's actually moderating a panel, you know, with both staff members, but also with whistleblowers and other journalists. So it was good to see. I mean, the health. I mean, one thing that they did put out in this security and defense panel with Gadi Schwartz and Chris Mellon again, Kirk McConnell, Rear Admiral Timothy Gallaudet, and Marek von Reinenkamp, was that, you know, it's not necessarily about knowing or not knowing about aliens. It's about making sure that we know how to relate to what's happening. Because, you know, when you see all these drones over military bases, it's very worrying for the military and for, you know, they don't know how to react because, you know, and they need some sort of framework, you know, to sort of work through this, both in terms of defense strategy, but also in terms of communication. You know, how do we communicate that we don't want these things here, right? Over military bases, that is, right? So after that panel, Senator Mike Rounds came on and he talked about, you know, what would be the legislative activity and initiatives that would need to be in place for you to have full disclosure. So he mentioned, again, the UAP Disclosure Act, meaning protection of whistleblowers that come forward. He mentioned the NDAA, right, the National Defense Authorization Act, you know, and how that needs to change, not only in terms of verbatim, in terms of accepting these new terminologies, but also in terms of oversight. You know, where did the money go? What new money is there for this? Who's responsible? So he highlighted that there needs to be a records review board, much like the JFK review board that was put forward, you know, some 5-6 years ago. And he warned also that there is a lot of politics inside the government. I mean, interagency politics, intercommittee politics, staff members that don't feel that this is relevant. So there's an ongoing fight towards we have to take this seriously, right? But we shouldn't expect it to be a sprint. We should expect it to be a marathon. So this was Mike Rounds, Senator Mike Rounds. Then we had a panel about science and investigation with Avi Loeb and Hal Puthoff, led by all people, Kristen Fisher, who used to be at Fox, now a big influencer in YouTube, and she's got her own production company. And they basically same old, you know, we need more data, but they were talking about the right posture, right? The right posture, meaning how should scientists approach this? It's not with ridicule, it's with curiosity. It's with, you know, accepting that they don't know everything, right? I don't know is you need some humility in the sciences to accept that maybe, you know, they don't know everything. We also had, just after that, we had Dr. Carlos Eyre, a PhD in history and religious studies. He talked about, you know, religion has long dealt with encounters involving non-human intelligences, right? And that's the motif that these religions sell, is basically these encounters with these non-human intelligences. And he said, this is more or less what's happening with UAP, in the sense that, you know, it is both miracle testimonies and UAP testimonies share the same problem, the one of believability. It's so out there that people don't know how to react. And he feels that science may tell us what's happening, but the humanities, only the humanities can tell us what it means, right? There's a big exploration area. But he believes that, you know, it won't destroy faith. It might rupture worldviews, but it won't destroy faith. It will renew faith. That's his belief. And this was put together so that you could build a framework of processes around disclosure to make sure it's safe to disclose, right? So here's Carlos Eyre. He talked to the Catholic Church. He talked to several other religions, and they were all in tune already with his thoughts, meaning they're ready. They're not being caught by surprise, which is great.
I want to come in for a moment, because
Sure.
that is such an important part of this. You know, Eduardo, I was producing nationally broadcast television shows about UFOs, and that was before we called them UAPs, back in the mid-90s. And always the general consensus was the reason there wasn't disclosure because the Catholic Church was afraid of how it would shake up its power base and its membership. Now, of course, I think now we know that it's more the military-industrial complex that's stopping things, because they want to hold on to the technology and the incredible financial value of the technology.
Right.
But what a blessing, both in the Spielberg film, which did a beautiful job of addressing the Catholic consideration, and then what you just shared. So I just wanted to come in for a moment, because that is a really huge piece of opening the door for disclosure to take place. And by the way, I'm now wearing my
Thank
media
you.
t-shirt with pride.
Looks good on you.
Yeah, thank you. Were there other thoughts and comments, reflections, either at the conference or that you've picked up, about how organized religion is preparing and embracing for this?
So there was stuff around the ontological shock and how that affects people's belief, not so much faith, religious faith, but it's the main takeaway there was reconciliation, meaning worldviews will have to change to reconcile with a universe that's full of life instead of a universe that's kind of dead, and we are the only ones. So in that sense, considering that it might be true, and I mean, I say might because there is no definitive proof yet, but I'm pretty sure there is, that this life has been around us and visiting us for a very long time. And so maybe these religions need to take into account that some of the events that have happened and were formative for the religions also comes from, these meetings with these non-human intelligences, right? These higher beings, right? These more illumined beings that maybe have been here all along helping us, but maybe come from other realms, right? And then the ontological shock talks about that construction of a new reality as a reconciliation. How do I reconcile? And the church, from what I gathered from one of the things that Chris Mellon said, is that the churches already have, especially the main ones, they already have a good notion of how to relay this into different kind of framework so that they benefit from it, meaning they expand their believers' awareness through this truth, right? I can't say much more because Carlos Zeri said a lot, but we had a lot of sound issues during the event. So it was hard to sort of hear him. He was speaking really, really low. So that's more or less what went on, Scott, with regards to religion.
You know what I'm loving about this is that we're so past the believers versus non-believers. Is it real, not real? We're now in the stage of, okay, we're really laying the groundwork on all the different levels. How are we going to deal with it in religion? How are we going to deal with it in the media? How are we going to deal with the oncological shock? We are now in the really preparing for and integrating this extraordinary new information into our world. And humanity has a lot of history of this. I mean, it's indigenous people when Europeans arrived in America, and 100 other examples of when people living in one tribe or country or culture, all of a sudden another culture or another tribe showed up, and it was like, oh my God, there are dark-skinned people, there are red-skinned people, there are white-skinned people. Well, now we get insectoids, Nordics, grays, and a whole lot more.
Right. It's much more diverse than we thought, right?
And more diverse than our human brains can really comprehend. All right, please continue with more of what took place.
So we had, after the ontological shock presentation, we had a very interesting panel with Mike Gold he's an ex-NASA director, with two scientists from MIT, and they discussed, how ready are these instruments that we use to detect all this? But they mentioned one thing that really caught my eye, was that they mentioned that NASA already has this in their archives, not proof per se, but they have a lot of these recordings and sensor data that they picked up on the moon and around the Earth during their flights, but nobody has actually dug deep into them because NASA, even though it's public information, it's hard to find, right? They put it out, and so they put together a group just to collect the NASA data and go through it as with expert tooling and make the connections. Oh, so this is an effort started off by citizen scientists, but which they want the government funding, the NSF, National Science Foundation, to fund. And I believe they're at the very end of getting that funding to make sure that this NASA data that's already sitting there waiting for people to go through it can show us how this has evolved over the years. So they mentioned Beatriz Villarroel study on transients, all these objects orbiting Earth. I don't know if you know about this, but there's about 50,000 objects orbiting Earth that we don't know what they are. And she proved this with rigorous science. It's peer-reviewed. It's been confirmed now thrice by other scientists with other data sets. It is true. And we just don't know what these 50,000 objects circling Earth are. They've been circling Earth since the 1950s, before humans went to space. So they've opened up the discussion much more broadly regarding how to, through technology, prove and come to terms with what you find. The last panel, well, not the last panel, but the one before last was about financial impacts, meaning what are the risks and opportunities? And basically, they were saying that there will be adjustments in a lot of sectors, but in truth, the technology to go to market takes so long that industries will adapt. The Dow Jones index companies that were part of the index 20 years ago aren't the same ones that are there today, basically. So things change. And this is just another phase for the financial markets. It might change energy, but it's going to take 20 to 30 years to produce and distribute. It might change, sensors and defense, but then again, same thing. So there's nothing new really in terms of finance, and the risks and the opportunities are there. But the risks are already kind of part of the game, right? You're just changing one technology for the other. On the last piece, which was for me the most interesting of all, was that at the very end, instead of closing off the forum, the Disclosure Foundation granted $10,000 to an enterprise founded by whistleblowers. So Matthew Brown, Dylan Borland, Jeffrey Nucciatelli formed a company to receive proceeds from donations and maybe other interested parties, so that they can lead a more healthy life after their whistleblowing. Because what they're faced when they started their whistleblowing was basically they'd lost their jobs, nobody would hire them, they were cast out, even though they were telling the truth. And so now they're starting to get to terms with that, with this new company. We offered to help as well at UApedia, because we have a lot that we could do together with them. But one thing that caught my eye was that, the credibility of disclosure will depend on how you treat the people who come forward with the information that's needed, right? And one of the most interesting things they did was they called Whitley Strieber to the stand as an homage, to the experiencers, and so that was very powerful. Whitley Strieber mentioning that this is the first time he's been to a public gathering where he hasn't been laughed out of stage, right? And so he welcomes the change and saying we're going to become a cosmic civilization. So everybody left in a very positive tone. Overall, as a conclusion to the event, it was clear to me that disclosure is a process. So you need laws, you need archives, you need communication, you need to revisit some cultural elements, you need to revisit religion, but mainly this was about trust. There is no disclosure without trust, but the trust has to be restored. And that's part of what the government needs to do with transparency, but also, making it compatible with national security, of course, reconciling this and treating these opposites as if they're compatible, right? How to do that. Provide evidence standards, so that you take away the stigma and mature these scientific experiments around this, or at least allow people to come forward with what they have already found, right? Because there's a lot that has already been investigated and tested and developed. And most of all, it's about preparing the public, right? With a resilient infrastructure, and not try to avoid a public relations game, right? In all this. So it's I felt it was a very responsible, tone to the whole disclosure forum. And I was really taken aback by how, all these people, we had dozens of politicians, and I don't know, 400 people there, of which about 200 were leading voices in this field. So everybody was very kind of together and praising the initiative.
You mentioned Whitley Strieber, and we did a show way back in 1996 or 7 when I was working on the Paranormal Borderline. We interviewed Whitley, and that was when Communion had just come out.
Oh, Jesus.
And for experiencers such as yourself, such as Whitley, and thousands of others, the shift between the Disclosure Day movie and that now this is being taken seriously is huge, because for so long, experiencers were laughed at, were thought to be crazy. They couldn't tell their story because they didn't want people to think they were nuts. And so it's an extraordinary shift. And because you are an experiencer,
Right.
I just want to acknowledge that. And I want to ask you if you'd be willing to share personally, what's it like for you, your journey? I don't know when your experiences took place, but what's it been like for you going from being on the fringe to now being
So
accepted?
I've always been in, publishing in general, software publishing, media publishing, and I always had a very kind of evidence-based scientific approach. I praised, all the, even though I love sci-fi, I praised all the science behind it, right? And about 3 years ago, when I had a contact, and then multiple contacts after that, it made me challenge my view of reality. And that's when I opened up, and I became more aware, more sensitive, a better human in general, right? And I don't think anybody that has been an experiencer comes away having lost something. We all lose something. But what we become, I believe, something better, something that's actually more open, more loving, more giving, and above all, more understanding, right? Let the fear go. Is, some people have a hard time, but that's my learnings from my experiencers. I had to let a lot of fear go. I had to focus on, the positive aspects and lead a life that actually had a purpose. And I think that's more or less where experiences go. I mean, not all, obviously, but a huge part of them say, even if you take the John Mack polls that he did way back then in the 90s, I think, they basically portray a very positive attitude towards the experiencer after the experiences itself, right?
Yeah, I was just reading some of the comments that have come in, so I apologize. But there's a lot of comments, of course, that are coming in now from our audience. Eleanor Joy writes, in my observation over the years, most people take a long time to shift their consciousness, and a few pioneers lead the way with much rebuttal. We just have to practice patience and hold the space in the quantum field for truth to emerge. I'm definitely not one of the pioneers, and appreciate programs like this to help move me along. And I've got a couple of questions that have come in for you that I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to read a couple more comments. Liz Connors who's been a guest on the show, I have a lot of respect for Liz, writes, the environments are changing. We mostly need to trust the information we receive and feel in our bones, honing our resonance. Micro of the macro, when our inner environment is trusting and supportive, we can have that mirrored back to us. It is important that we project a clean slate on our more 5D supported path. Divinity can flow through and allow many miracles if we begin by believing in miracles. Beautifully put. Dorina Joy from Ecuador writes, polls show that 90% of Americans demand transparency, and the public is resilient enough to handle disclosure without mass panic. Seems like this UAP Disclosure Symposium confirmed that the disclosure bottleneck is no longer public maturity or scientific interest, but the main agendas and interests clashing not only in the United States, but globally, especially with the exponential AI advances and revelations. So here's a question.
Right.
First of three questions that we have for you, Eduardo. What will help us most to go beyond the current disclosure into conscious contact, communication, and collaboration with our advanced non-human intelligence?
Well, I discussed a lot with other people, on the corridors there between the panels and before and after the event. And there's the dependency on government isn't a good thing. So maybe we could start an open contact movement, right? I mean, CE5 is already kind of that, right? But I think we can extend it because there are multiple contact modalities, and there's nowhere. The government doesn't necessarily need to be involved with contacts with NHI, right? It's just that they have more scientific information, and they have been at it for longer than we have individually. But I think that the process for this conscious contact, communications, and collaboration is to do this in an open manner, sometimes with the help of other people, sometimes by yourself. You can do that. There is no holding back the human potential.
Beautiful, thank you. All right, there's some other questions that have come in. Susan Bloomquist asks, I wonder if there will be a place where any experiencer can just say what happened. Are there any public forums like that? Which
yeah, there are. I mean, NUFORC, MUFON have forums for experiencers. They're not 100% guaranteed to get a space, but they'll be able to tell their story without ridicule. We are thinking of developing something ourselves regarding that allows people to have, instead of, because NUFORC and MUFON are very nuts and bolts organizations, right? We need something that coalesces the experiencers. And we believe there are millions and millions of them around the globe. And they don't have literally representation. They don't. So we feel that we might be able to do something, that's what I'm talking to the whistleblowers about. So Matthew Brown, Dylan Borland, Jeffrey Nuccitelli, they're all experiencers. But how put off of all people, how Foote said he was an experiencer. Can you believe that?
Wow.
So there's many more experiencers than we know. And some of them come because of, religious backgrounds. Some of them come through contact with NHI directly. Some come through abductions, but it doesn't really matter. The important thing is to have that safe space, where they can congregate and talk about their experiences. And I think that's, even though you do have MUFON and NUFORC, I think there's a space for a new platform for experiences.
Okay. People are wondering if you would be willing to share some of your contact experiences. Is that something you'd be willing to do?
Yeah, I'm very hesitant to do so even though I shouldn't be, put my money where my mouth is. But it's I started having contact in my house, in my bedroom with orbs, and it just progressed from there. I mean, in these we had all series of paranormal events in my house, and one of the things that I did was I started to, for 6 months with paranormal events in my house, I started having trouble understanding what was going on. But once I decided not to be afraid, everything turned. And then I started to realize that I had developed sensitivities that I didn't have before. And then I started exploring the world, and I did what Jacques Vallée mentioned in Passport to Magonia. I decided to test the folklore and the cultural and mythic beliefs to see if they were real or not. And there was stuff there. So I went to Europe, visited mythic locations, and I could sense the presence and meet some of them. And it was quite extraordinary to be able to validate that kind of thought that Jacques Vallée had, that is all tied together, right? The UAP, the paranormal, and the myths of old, and maybe even religion, right? So I'll leave it at that, because it gets very complicated after.
Sure.
I don't think this is the forum for that.
Sure. You have put on 2 beautiful conventions, UAP cons, both of which can be found at UApedia, which we're going to go take a look at your website in a moment. But one of the things that I've really loved about the conventions you've put together, Eduardo, is the focus has been on how is this impacting our consciousness. It's not just about, I saw lights in the sky, but people really sharing, like you just did, how having these experiences, which, although the experiences are incredibly diverse, the commonality is high strangeness, and it forces us to change or expand our perspective of what's possible. It breaks us out of whatever bubble we've been in, a religious bubble, a belief system bubble, a cultural bubble. It gets us out of there. And I think that that's something you've done a wonderful job of really helping us to focus on and to understand, is this is all raising our consciousness. I was listening kind of in anticipation of today's conversation with you. This morning, I was listening to an in-depth recent conversation with my friend and colleague, Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar.
Yeah.
And
love him, love Bashar.
And I've known Daryl for 40 years. I first met him back in the 80s. So, a lot of us have been on this journey for a long, long time. And in essence, my understanding from what Daryl said was that he really believes that at some level, our galactic family have been actually pulling the strings to raise our consciousness. And yes, there's the human involvement and the human, trying to block it. But there is a real effort from an intelligence that's so much more evolved than we are. They may be hundreds or even thousands, or perhaps even more years evolved. So it's impossible for us to imagine their consciousness. And I think Spielberg spoke to that. By now, I think most people have seen the Disclosure Day movie. And I like how Spielberg addressed that. And then at the very end, almost the punchline is that we learn that it's this being that actually had kind of orchestrated the mass disclosure to take place. So I just want to stop there for a moment and ask how that lands for you, and as this person who's gathering all this information through UApedia, what are your thoughts about how Spielberg presented it and what I just shared?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for those, lovely comments about UAP Con 1 and 2. And I'd like to give a shout out to the team and my co-founders, Tara, Alan Steinfeld, and Tim Spinney, and our staff and team, for helping out with these two wonderful events that tied consciousness to the unidentified anomalous phenomena. And we've been honored with such tremendous guests, But back to your final question, I mean, the Disclosure Day movie is a movie about how, well, first of all, there's a lot of truth in the movie, right? From what we gathered and from what researchers have found over the last decades, it's all there. Spielberg did a good research, and I like how he framed it, that empathy wins, right? I mean, the humans have a capability, even though only two there were extraordinary because of their experiences. Humans have the same capabilities, they just haven't developed them. And I think that's kind of one of the takeaways that I did in the review, a pre-review I did of the movie for UApedia. We focused on, how important it is for people to understand that these abductions are real, that this is something that has real consequences, and some of them are positive and some of them are negative, but most of the time they are changes in the person with regards to how they go through life, right? How they see life. And it's important for other people to know that they're energetic beings that are capable of a lot more than we thought possible before. And I think the movie portrays that a bit. I mean, it tries to tie it to contact and, but it's not. I mean, it's everybody. Everybody on Earth has the same capabilities. You just have to unlock them.
Beautiful. I really appreciate that. And there's so many comments that have come in. Definitely want to acknowledge Danny Sheehan, who's a regular on this show, is doing talks every Sunday at 12 noon Pacific time. I really encourage everybody to participate in that. And the link to that Zoom room has been put into the chat box a few times. And we are now going to take a look at this wonderful website that Eduardo is the editor of. So everybody, it's uapedia.ai, uapedia.ai. And it's an amazing place. There are so many articles. Every time I go there, I just get lost in all the articles, all the perspectives. And a lot of people, of course, you've seen all these people on our show. Alan Steinfeld, probably every 6 weeks. Dr. Tara has been on many times, Tim Spinney. And it's just a wonderful way to be, really, if you want a one-stop shop, because they update us with the latest information. Eduardo had put a beautiful article in here about what just took place on Thursday. So you can get the latest news. You can also get highlights. It's the place to go.
And it's updated daily, right? Daily updated.
Updated daily. And how many articles do you have now?
Well, we have 512 articles. I mean, these are long articles. They're in-depth reviews of the major cases, subjects, and some very current stuff. We also started to digitize the Alan Steinfeld archives, which is gaining huge traction because he's got all these gems that people he interviewed in 20, 30 years ago. So we're very grateful to Alan for letting us digitize his archives.
Beautiful. Shoshana, I see you've got your hand raised. We're getting low on time, but I'm going to go ahead and bring you up if you have a question. Do you have a question that you wanted to ask?
Yes, I'll try to make it quick. For all of us that are into galactic and ETs, I would imagine that sometimes when people are contacted, it's something that sort of expands your multi-dimensional quantum continuum of how you multi-sensory experience, right? And then we realize we have higher selves and we are
Right.
maybe that some of those beings are our future selves. This is time bending, but I'm imagining there's some experiences where people find their own star families or have a resonance with a particular ET, star tribe in the ecology of the landscape. And I'm just mentioning that it's probably a big conversation, but if there's anything very short that you want to say about it, it would be interesting.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of researchers come up to us and offer all their research for this kind of thing. What are the modalities of contact and what are the types of experiences that happen? What are the effects? Some people relate just what you said, they find their higher self. And it's a recurring theme, really. It's not, these are people who have never met. They're telling the same story again and again and again. So yeah, and about the star families, there is a lot of evidence that supports both multidimensional, as you mentioned, but also some localities like star systems as being their homes, right? So there's a lot of that going on. I mean, I don't know how much we can prove. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have that knowledge, and it's your individual self and the collective understanding that this is possible, and it is. And that's what we found in the research, right? The research points us in that direction, even though people don't say that in public because it's hard to prove. There is more and more testimony around the same kind of areas you just described, right? With, star seeds, star people, star families, right?
Thank you so much.
You always have the best background, Shoshana, that big rose. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Eduardo. We
Thank you.
are going to go to our prayer time next, but I'd love to, just like we have Alan periodically with Making Contact, I'd love to have you and or Tim, maybe once a month even, just giving the update of what's because it's all happening so fast.
That's right. We'd love to. I mean, maybe we can get, 1 month Tim, 1 month me, share a bit, because we're all very involved in all this, and it takes a tribe to make a difference, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And thank you so much for what you're doing. By the way, everybody, it's free to go to UAPD. Of course, join and help support them, but they also, the initial site is free. But I do encourage you to support them, please. And go back and watch the 2 conventions, online conventions they did, because, I'm kind of a snob. I've been around this world for a really, really long time. And Eduardo, I was hooked. Each one of your presenters they were saying things I had not heard before. They were presenting perspectives I had not heard before. And I learned a lot. And it takes a bit for me to learn a lot in this field. So
I'm glad.
You guys
Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for all your support and all you've done. Thank you.
Absolutely. And let's all get our UAPedia t-shirts.
Right. I got mine here. Oops.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. God bless you.
Cheers. God bless.
What a show. We are going to go to our prayer time with Diarra, and then we'll close out with an Om Ashar song. And here is our dear Diarra.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you, Eduardo, for trusting us enough to share your experience. We so value that. And as always, we traverse the universe and beyond in just one evening. We started with our beautiful World Unity Week, our beloved brothers and sisters in Unity Earth, with our feet on our beloved Mother, Gaia. And then traversing through the difficulties as human beings, as we're still learning how to own our power and come into ourselves, and all the beautiful work that's being done to mitigate the difficulties. And then through beautiful music, and now traversing in the stars. And as always, we know that we're expanding our capacity to hold it all, to open our minds, to increase and elevate our consciousness, our ability to understand and be open to what's beyond. And again, at the same time, we bring it back down into our beautiful human bodies. We know at this time, many people are experiencing the effects of this expansion of consciousness, this expansion of our light bodies. And so we offer our prayers to those who may be suffering, may be in pain, may be clearing dis-easement, that may be incorporating cellular changes, viral changes. So we're blessing our beautiful human bodies as cosmic beings. And breathing into that, we can feel the light expanding, we can feel the love expanding, we can feel health, vitality, and peace inside our own beautiful universe. And then, as always, we share that out, extending that out, reaching our hands out to those who are ready to grasp and hold on, and we bring them in, into our tribes, into our hearts. And prayers, as always, for our specific members in our tribe. Prayers for those who have yet to understand that there is so much beyond what can be seen. And we ask for our sensitivities to expand, our ability to embrace the subtle energies. And we do that with tender hearts and lots of love. And as always, embracing the cosmic children that are here now and those that are ready to come in. Oh, I can feel them. And we promise that they will recognize us and we will see them. We will hold them in love and light. So thank you, Scott. Thank you to our beautiful tribe. Thank you to all our presenters, all the beloveds in the room. And so it is.
And as always, let's go to gallery view and have a minute or two of silence where everybody can pray for whatever they are aware of, that it might be personal. Certainly, we want to pray for what's happening down in Venezuela. Over 1,400 have died, 50,000 are missing, 3,300 injured. Thank you, Dorina Joy, for reminding us of that. So maximum grace for the people in Venezuela, maximum grace for each and every one of us with whatever challenges we might be facing. And let's have a moment of silence. Thank you, Deora. Before we go to Omashar, I just want to make a couple of more announcements. I want to remind people that we have a really powerful Sacred Sunday show taking place tomorrow. Our friends Rama and Alexander, who travel all over the world, have put together a really special program. So it's going to be at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And I will put the link to this program into the chat box. And for any of you that are watching on Facebook or YouTube and you want to join us tomorrow, come join the Global Peace Tribe and you'll automatically get all the Zoom room links, including for tomorrow's Sacred Sunday show. And to remind you that you can join the Global Peace Tribe. It's very, very easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. globalpeacetribe.com. Click register for the new season. That takes you to our registration page. And now is the time. We're just starting our new season next week, next Wednesday. And next week's shows on Wednesday night, we're going to be honoring the work of Piper Dellums and the work she does with young people. And then a week from tonight, which happens to be the 4th of July, we're going to do a show on the science of manifesting. And we have an extraordinary fellow, Dr. Larry Fuller, who is going to be teaching us the science of manifesting miracles. I did an interview with him yesterday. He blew my socks off. And I'm really excited. You're going to love him. So next Saturday night is going to be a very powerful, very different, not a lot of guests, but a really focused experience for all of us to really practice manifesting and learning the science of manifesting. As always, I'll send out an email with the descriptions and the new links. All of you will receive an email with the new links that are registered. And so please, everybody, make sure that you register so that you don't miss a show, because we've got great shows coming up. And of course, the highlight of our shows, for many of you, certainly for me, is Omar Shar, our beloved house musical artist. And here he is.
Let me shine a light inside. And I'll show you where your truth resides. Lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again, and we'll make amends for what we've done. So let me take your hands in mine, as I look at you, your spirit shines. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. So when you take a different view, you dream awake, breathe out the new. 'Cause I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. The world will come alive again. As we dance and sing and make new friends. So lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me. I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. Welcome you
What a beautiful, slow, and gentle version of that song that we all love so much.
And you know where that was inspired from?
What?
That version. Remember you did the show in Santa Fe, and you were broadcasting from this brand new house, and Kristen came out, and we devised a way of her singing and me playing this song, and that birthed this version of that song with Kristen. So
It was beautiful, beautiful. Bonnie and Shoshana and Ayada are all commenting on how beautiful that version of it was. So a beautiful way to kind of guide us into the night after a very powerful show. And again, wow, what a diversity of conversation and topics. I loved it. And I look forward to hopefully seeing all of you for our Sacred Sunday show tomorrow morning. God's blessings, everybody. Much love. Thank you, Omashar, Diara, Eduardo, all of our friends from World Unity Week, Susan Woldridge, got that extra D in there. Thank you, everybody.